Integral of secant x. Now, in a lot of times in trigonometry and calculus, you're asked to convert everything to sines and cosines if possible. So you might think that secant x, if I want to integrate secant x, then I could write this as 1 over cosine x. Nothing wrong with that, except that you can't go any further from here, because unlike differentiation, there is no such thing as a quotient rule or chain rule for integration. So this is going to hit us with a roadblock. On the other hand, this idea, notice that when you take the derivative of secant x, what you get is secant x tan x. So that's something we want to remember. And if you take the derivative of tan x, so secant x involves, the derivative of secant x involves both secant x and tan x, and the derivative of tan x involves secant square x. It's secant square x. So here is the idea. If I want to integrate secant x, then I could use this trick. So I want to write, or actually I want to multiply and divide by something where the derivative of the denominator becomes the numerator. So notice, if I multiply and divide by secant x plus tan x, then this is what you're going to see. So your numerator becomes secant square x plus secant x tan x, which happens to be the derivative of this. So let's multiply secant x with the numerator. You get secant square x plus secant x tan x, or let me write down secant x tan x over secant x plus tan x. And now if you let your denominator be u, secant x plus tan x, then notice, to get du, you take the derivative of that and multiply with dx. So since I have a binomial, let me use parentheses. The derivative of secant x is secant x tan x, and that of tan x is secant square x. And I can differentiate each term separately and add whenever I have to differentiate. So I take the derivative, multiply with dx, and notice that's exactly what I have in the numerator. I wrote this secant square first and secant x tan x later on. So it turns out that this is simply du over u. So I can write that as natural log of absolute of u plus c. So what's my answer to integral of secant x? Well, it is natural log of absolute of secant x plus tan x plus c.